I hate this part of Texas. Okay, week 37 and Circuit of the Americas was the track that we were at, and oh boy. Not my favorite. Just to kind of go over things real quick. Our I rating got down from a 1236 to an 1143, which not so bad. Our safety rating went down from an A 2.38 to an A 1.69. It got much lower than, not much, but it was down to like 1.1 or 1.0 something. At one point, I did some other stuff to kind of bolster that number back up at a couple key points there. Our time, we got our time down from our first race. Our best lap was a 2:10.936. We got that down to a 2:09.784. Now that first race, that was a way outlier kind of lap. Most of the laps I had were more in the 2:11, 2:12 area. And then that 2:09.784, that was the best clean lap we had. I remember seeing that we had one in the 2:08s, but it was, we had an off track on that. So I was very inconsistent on this week as far as times go. Those 2:09, that 2:09 was not consistent. Like, I wasn't close to that. I wasn't doing 2:10s consistently. It was laps, like even towards the end of the week, would be vary between 2:13 and the 2:09 area. It was not fun week. As far as our standings, how we got our standings to go, in the Fanatec GT3 Challenge series, the fixed series, we got our standings. This week we placed 69th, which is, like, sounds good, but and I think our points this week were higher than, like, the some of the other, like, this did not count as a bye week in that series. Last week our place was 146th. Our average start this week was 9th, and our average finish was 10th. Overall, that puts us, we dropped down to 33rd in the standings for our division. Last week we were sitting at 29th in the Division 7 championship for that series. Our average start is still 8th, our average finish is still 9th. We're not going to move the needle too much on those, I don't think. Unless something crazy happens and Spot's not gonna. In the VRS GT Sprint series, this week we placed 157th. This week did not count. This was a bye week for us because I couldn't get a good enough finish to earn any points. Our average start was 15th. Our average finish was 15th. Last week we had placed 97th. In the overall standings for that series, we dropped the 48th place in Division 7, and last week we were sitting at 38th. And our average start is 13th. Our average finish was 12th. So, yeah, not a great track for us. And I think, well, just from talking to folks, Circuit of the Americas is not it's a divisive track. Some people really like it, and I can understand with its layout why. It's very technical and demanding. I can understand why some folks would like it. And I can see myself learning to like it if I could get some consistency at it. There's some fun parts, like the S's are interesting and challenging. It's just that a lot of it put together, well, it's designed to be very technical, and without a ton of practice at it, it's hard to get that speed going. And the off tracks are very unforgiving. Somebody in the chat in one of our races said something along the lines of, it's almost like the off tracks were done by 3 different people with no overarching philosophy on how they should be implemented or enforced, and it was just brutal. Usually I'm not that bad at off tracks, but several races we were in the mid-teens for our incident count just through off tracks. And one race I even hit drive-through penalty, which I don't know that I've ever really done via incident count. So that was new and not great feeling. So yeah, it's just it's one of those tracks that I'm not a fan of at the moment. Like I said, I think I could learn to like it, but right now not so much. We did have one race where we ended up in the GT3 in the challenge series, the fixed series. We ended up getting a 6th place finish. This is the best one that we had this week. It was mostly because everybody else decided to crash into each other. There was one guy on the field who could lap pretty quickly, but apparently just fell apart when there were other cars around and got angry that they weren't like not on the track. They were in his way, I guess. One of those people. So in the interest of saving both my safety rating and sanity, I did take a couple breaks and did some touring car races. Did a couple of races in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, which is the multi-class races with the GT4 cars as well as the touring cars. One of them I did not streaming, so I don't have like video footage of me doing it, so I can't put that up as a video upload, but I ran pretty well there. This was at the full Hockenheim circuit, and I was following the, like I had fallen kind of a little bit back behind the first place in our class and just slowly caught up to him over time, and I was just kind of happy to sit behind and just sit in second spot, because it seemed like this guy was a little bit faster than me, not like walking away from me faster than me, but just a little bit, until like halfway to 3/4 through the race he goes in and pits, and I'm like, okay, and that put me in first place for the class, and I just kind of sat there and went and finished the race. And I don't know, I was maybe 10-15 seconds ahead of the next car in my class, and I looked at the standings at the end of the race, and I had placed 5th overall and 1st in my class, which felt after like all that time at CotA, just struggling my brains out, and like having to really work hard this whole season doing the GT3 stuff, being able to just hop into the old trusty TCR and do pretty well. It was a bottom split race, so take that for what it's worth. I know a win's a win, shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, all that fun stuff, but yeah, that was it felt pretty good. I can't lie, it felt pretty good. And then a little later on, I did some of the turn touring car challenge, which was at the short version, I think North A layout of Hockenheim, and that's just the touring cars. The first time we did it, it was a little rougher because I got stuck behind some traffic that was pretty much the same pace as me, and I couldn't get around it. But it was fine, and I hadn't really learned the layout with that setup yet. But we ended up gaining 1 position, 0 incidents, so it was you know, a good little race, and had fun. And then later on, the last race of the week I did was another one of the touring car challenge races, the little 15-minute fixed setup races, and things got off to an interesting start. We qualified 3rd, and then I had a good launch, got into 2nd place, and everybody behind me crashed into each other. It was so there was no pressure from behind, and even had there been first place was one of the situations where for most of the race they were walking away from me, and but we were walking away from 2nd, like whoever ended up in 2nd after that crash, like by the end of I was putting 2 seconds a lap on whoever was there. Towards the end of the race, I was having some, I was kind of keeping pace with the guy ahead of me. Like he wasn't I was like losing maybe 2 to 3 tenths a lap on him if I was losing time. He made some mistakes, and I did gain a little bit back here and there, but not anything significant. But yeah, we were like 20-30 seconds ahead of the next car by the end of that race. So again, it felt good to just jump into that familiar car and feel competent and skilled, you know. So that was nice. I liked that. But yeah, so I think that's something that can't be overstated, that when you're trying to get good at something and you work hard and you struggle and struggle and struggle, and you've been pushing yourself to do harder and harder things in that aspect, like we are doing these GT3 races and trying to get better at this, like, I think more difficult car, and we're making progress. It's not like we're like, this was a particularly tough week, but you know, I still think I'm learning and I still think I'm getting better. But just with like hitting this wall and this plateau is what I'm going to call this week, being able to go back to that stuff that we had not mastered but gotten a level of competence at, and being able to feel good about that progress that you've made and being able to apply it without having to push forward in the struggle. Oh my gosh, it just feels so amazing. So probably the touring car challenge this coming week is at Lime Rock, so I may that's a course that I also think I feel pretty competent with. Might end up doing a few of those just for the feel good factor. but yeah, for the GT3 stuff, the coming week is going to take us to Spa, a track that I got, I think, decent with when we were doing it in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Yeah, that's what that's called. Series. I think I have a chance at kind of learning it and getting like as good as we've gotten in some of like the other courses this season. Yeah, I'm not dreading it. I know it's tough. I know the off tracks are hard here too. I don't think they're anywhere near as bad as the ones at Circuit of the Americas, but yeah, I know it's gonna be rough. Well, and I'm gonna utilize that the ability to go back to those touring car races and do those to feel good about myself throughout the process. But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for watching. You know what to do. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. If you haven't subscribed already, that button is functional. It helps you see the future videos, helps the channel grow. And as always, be nice to each other. See you on the track. Bye.